Welcome back to Second Breakfast. On today's episode of Cam's Unhinged Theories, Cam's going to lead us through a Harry Potter realization he had. I have no idea what's coming. I'm just here to respond and react in real time. So, Cam, what are we talking about today?
Well, the lingo behind the scenes, we call this a sidecar episode.
Yes, where I sit comfortably in the little, in the 1960s Batman when they're on the bat bike and Robin's in the little thing just kind of chilling. That's where I am today.
I believe it's a bat cycle.
Oh,
yes.
I'm so sorry. Excuse me.
So yeah, we've been seeing the Harry Potter movies at Alamo. They're doing this great program where they show the whole series in order. I think it's like every one a week through the end of September. So we've been going to see that.
We booked them all.
Yes, we did.
It's been a great little weekly ritual. It's been fun.
It's been amazing. And I've had a realization just watching them in this sequence and watching them more analytically because I've seen them 100 times. I grew up with these stories.
Right. And it's not like it's casually on in the background the way that these movies have been our entire lives where you're just kind of watching it.
Well, I respect the art. I would never.
Okay.
I would never leave it on the background,
okay.
Maggie.
Okay, never mind. God. Sorry, let me get back in the sidecar. You go ahead. Go forth, Batman. What were you going to say? I just meant we were intentionally paying attention to the movie and in a theater setting. It was good. It was great.
But I think it's also that I haven't watched these in a long time.
Yeah.
And I now have a more analytical eye from doing things like this show. So I developed this
show that's called Second Breakfast, I believe.
It is.
Okay. I just wanted to plug our own show on the show. I thought that's kind of how it... Is that good?
So I developed this theory from watching the movies. This is mostly coming from Chamber of Secrets. And Chamber of Secrets I always liked. I think it's the most straightforward fantasy book of the whole series.
I think you're right about that.
You've got the sword, you've got the spider, the snake, you've got everything but a dragon.
A secret hidden chamber, thousands of years of lore. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And I've always enjoyed it on those terms, on its own merits. But this viewing was the first time I ever really processed it as being a very good sequel. And it reminded me of our discussion on a previous episode of Second Breakfast with Cam and Maggie about Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Because we admired that movie so much as a sequel because every single scene seemed to be a really interested, passionate viewer asking what if questions about this world. So as it made the world bigger, it was a great balance of world building and almost world testing.
Okay.
That was a really good sequel. And I've enjoyed Chamber of Secrets here as a very good sequel, but also as a fairly pointed response to Sorcerer's Stone. It's full of echoes and dangling plot threads. But specifically, I think the movie and the book, they're very, very close, are centered around the Sorting Hat moment from Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
Should Harry be a Gryffindor or a Slytherin?
Yeah,
And he becomes this almighty Gryffindor by the end of the first one. He's wearing that big red sweater where he gets the red stone out of his pocket.
He wins the House Cup because of his bravery.
Exactly. He's courageous and saves the day.
Saving his friends,
And in this movie, which is predominantly green...
Yes, it's a very green movie.
We sort of play the other side there. Yes, he does. The movie resolves with him pulling the sword of Gryffindor out.
Yes.
But until that moment, it's pretty back and forth. The snake is green. He can talk to the snake. There's coding of this binary throughout the story.
Yeah, and he's existing through this overwhelming concern that he is the heir of Slytherin because he doesn't know his family's lineage. He's got the parcel tongue thing. He thinks the Sorting Hat made a mistake, so.
But to play with the idea more directly, we take this idea, should Harry have been a Gryffindor or a Slytherin? And we almost make that metaphor manifest. What if Harry was a Slytherin? By introducing Tom Riddle.
Yeah.
We physicalize that sort of theoretical possibility in this new character, who turns out to be an old character. But there's also a lot of reflection in this story on my main favorite takeaway from rewatching Sorcerer's Stone, which was Hagrid. I never realized how much of an almost main character he is in Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
He instigates the story. He shepherds Harry through everything. He's there for every important moment of that story. And he's by far the leading parental figure for Harry after his parents. It's easy in retrospect to look at a character like Sirius. Or even the titanic impact that someone like Lupin has. Just from the third book, really.
Or even Dumbledore later on.
Of course, or early on. Since he's the one who places him on the doorstep. But Hagrid is the most paternal. The most, and maternal. the jokes with Norbert about like he knows his mummy. I think that's very much a way of explicating the relationship that he has with Harry.
Yes,
because
right.
he plays that just purely parental, loving, warm, encouraging, safe role for Harry, and I thought that was gorgeous. I mean, it ruined me watching the first movie.
It's very sweet, yeah.
And he's just as prominent here, Hagrid, in the second movie. And there are some reflections on that relationship. Harry's surrogate father here is Hagrid. And not only in this movie do we see this manifest metaphor, the Slytherin Harry, I'm going to call him as we go forward.
Okay.
We see the Slytherin Harry screw over Hagrid, where the Gryffindor Harry so embraces and loves and trusts him.
Okay.
But we also, because we're kind of zoomed out looking at these echoes and different versions of characters, we get to see Hagrid for the first time from a distance. And he looks like this wanderer with a heart of gold. We have all these little anecdotes about him getting dragon eggs from people in the pubs and meeting all these strange people. And he started to feel like a benevolent slughorn.
Okay. Sorry, what do you mean by from a distance? I'm trying to understand that.
We're not just seeing things from Harry's perspective as he discovers the world in Sorcerer's Stone. There's more perspective in Chamber of Secrets. We're seeing multiple timelines because we're looking at the world 50 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
We're seeing things more from Dumbledore's perspective as we get a little bit of insight into what the school governor board looks like.
Yeah, and even like the scene in Hagrid's cabin, like Harry's there, but he's hiding, and so he's not part of the conversation. So you see the way Hagrid talks to adults about the real world and real consequences, like going to Azkaban.
We also get to see the Wizarding World without Hagrid because we see Harry with the Dursleys. We see Harry flying through different parts of the countryside. We see Harry in Diagon Alley and Flourish and Blotts without Hagrid.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. He arrives at Hogwarts without Hagrid versus in Sorcerer's Stone when Hagrid took him across the lake.
Hagrid, yes, exactly. We just get a little bit of distance from him, which means I think we can see him in a clearer light.
Okay.
And again, he struck me as a benevolent slughorn who sort of collects those in need. There's that compassion where he's not a proper wizard, he's not a proper teacher, but he sort of cleans up. And Harry is one of those sort of forgotten, left behind things that Hagrid's compassion totally saves. And the wrinkle that we introduce in Chamber of Secrets, because it is such a warm and beautiful thing that Hagrid is doing, the wrinkle we get here is sometimes Hagrid saves unworthy orphans. So just like we're looking at this good versus evil what-if dichotomy of Harry with the Tom Riddle parallel, I think Aragog is introduced as an evil Harry counterpart.
Okay.
So he is an orphan in a box who carries all sorts of baggage and presumption. He provokes an instant reaction from everyone who sees him.
Yeah.
So he's kept tucked away, just like Harry is at the Dursleys, for his entire youth in the cupboard under the stairs, which is full of spiders. And so much of Chamber of Secrets is teasing this possibility of what if Harry bad?
Yes.
That's what Tom Riddle is, constantly. That's the comparison. But also with the heir of Slytherin question, we're directly positioning our good Harry as possibly a dangerous threat. And we're seeing how people respond to him that way. We're teasing that other possibility, that other outcome. But compare the staging of these two scenes. You have, in the flashback scene, you have Tom Riddle as an authority figure walking in on Hagrid and Aragog and blaming Hagrid for the Chamber of Secrets drama.
Yes.
And then later in the film, Dumbledore, Fudge, and Lucius Malfoy walk in on Hagrid and Harry and blame Hagrid for the Chamber of Secrets drama.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
So
and Harry's again hidden away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in a more subtle way than the Tom Riddle comparison, which even Harry himself catches. He catches that echo and brings it up to Dumbledore.
Yes,
after.
and that's like a struggle for him for the whole series.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So when the characters start picking up on echoes, which we've always enjoyed talking about, I think that's always fruitful and good for their kind of character arc and maturation. But I think this Aragog comparison is much deeper and more telling. Because that recoiling, gross-out reaction that we and Ron have to the spiders every time we see them in Chamber of Secrets is almost an emotional reenactment of the feeling Harry gets when he's mobbed everywhere he goes. From that first Diagon Alley trip with Hagrid to the bookshop Flourish and Blotts scene in this movie, it's an inversion of all that gawking and coveting that so freaks out innocent young baby Harry. it's a mirror. It's a reverse echo, as we used to talk about with Tolkien.
Yeah.
But it carries that same disruptive intensity. And the difference between these characters is in how they respond to a similar situation. Just like Harry and Tom Riddle, Harry asks not to be a Slytherin, and we're told that makes all the difference. And here, in the face of all this hysteria and suspicion, these like knee-jerk reactions, Aragog responds with wrath. And Harry responds with love. And we see, just with that one simple flicking the light switch decision, we walk down the path, the kind of moral branches from that binary choice, and we see where those characters end up. And at the end of this movie, we see Aragog end up pissed and miserable and bitter and gross and disgusting and in the woods alone.
Yes.
And then we see Harry transcending and succeeding and coming into his own and becoming the true Gryffindor self. So I think this big ugly spider is just another cautionary tale, just another road not taken, like Tom Riddle.
Interesting. That's really fun. I never really known what to do with Aragog, other than like he's a really cool bit of lore. But like, and you know, he's a great scapegoat for the whole drama of the 50 years ago Chamber of Secrets thing. But otherwise, like, you know, we never really see Aragog again, except in Half-Blood Prince when he dies. But that scene, again, is only kind of there to serve another function, which is Harry getting that memory out of Slughorn. That's a whole separate thing. But if you're looking at it the way you're looking at it, I like that, because then it's more connected. And again, when like that moment when Aragog dies in Half-Blood Prince, when we see him again, that's another moment of Harry making a choice to pursue the right path to eliminate this evil, to get this memory out of Slughorn so we can learn about the Horcruxes and yada yada yada. So I like that.
It has this beautiful destabilizing effect because we so trust Hagrid because he is so warm, and when we meet him, he's by far the most knowledgeable and wise person in the story because it's just Harry and the Dursleys. Once we meet people like Dumbledore, some of that changes, but that first impression of Hagrid we get is so strong that it carries through sort of the rest of the story.
Yeah. Sorry, I've had another thought just now. And this is brought on by your brother Samron, Cam's sister, Sam. She once brought up to me a moment in Deathly Hallows that I'd also never really known what to do with, and I'm thinking of it again now. It's when Harry, Ron, and Hermione have met up with Aberforth for the first, like they're recognizing Aberforth for who he is. He's Dumbledore's brother. And when they're talking, there's a moment in the narration where it says Harry like looked at Aberforth, and for a moment his eye, like his glasses kind of fogged over and his eyes looked white, and it reminded him of Aragog's eyes. And I always thought that's such a weird comparison to bring in. I don't know what to do with it. And Sam had been thinking about it a lot, but what I'm thinking about now is Aberforth is sort of not the anti-Dumbledore, but he represents a version of a different Dumbledore who makes different choices and has this almost like nihilistic, I can't do anything to change. Jaded, yeah, perspective. And again, it's like about these choices that he's making versus Dumbledore, Albus, who makes the choice to try to undo the damage he's done personally and try to make the world a better place and like seek out power where he's most effective, not get too much power, but, you know, be headmaster of this school and have all this influence and try to make things better. So bringing back that, like, so, you know, if Aragog is what if Harry bad, you could think about what Aberforth is what if Albus bad. And I know that's an incredibly binary way to think about it, and the joy of this series is that none of these characters are binary good and evil, I guess except Voldemort. But I like that. I think that adds another layer of interest to it. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a destabilizing moment because we trust Hagrid and we see his choice to sort of take Harry under his wing as a moment of strong intuition. That he's right. We kind of think Harry's like one of the chosen people from the very beginning when he's introduced.
Of course.
So we see that as a smart move by Hagrid. But when we get some of these backstory moments that start piling up of him taking in a dragon and then him taking in a big gross spider, we start to think maybe this guy's judgment isn't great. And at the same time, the story is positioning us, what if Harry is evil? He talks to snakes. What's he doing? Everyone suspects him of killing people. So just as we're destabilizing Hagrid and his judgment about Harry, we're destabilizing Harry. So there is this kind of compounding effect. And introducing Aragog, kind of growing out of that disruptive moment, showing us this almost phantom image of the version of Harry that everyone is gossiping about.
Yeah.
We take that and turn it into this like grotesque image.
Yes.
And then we confront that image. It's a thing we see a lot in the Witcher series, where we take an idea, we manifest it, and then confront it in the story.
What's also cool is that Aragog tells Harry that spiders, the most terrifying thing to them is the basilisk. They don't speak of it. They run away from it. They don't fight it. But Harry kills the basilisk.
And he can talk to snakes.
Yes, he can talk to snakes. He chooses not to flee from it, right? And he takes it on and he destroys it. He kills it. So there's also a nice comparison.
Another Hagrid parallel that I'm just coming up with now is we see Hagrid putting on this funeral for Aragog in Half-Blood Prince. And Harry's there, of course, and can't really take it seriously. But if we're looking at this dichotomy of Harry and Aragog as sort of the good and evil version of Hagrid's sons, Hagrid, who doesn't have any children, but almost fosters all of these different lonely orphans.
Yeah, and like creatures, right? Dragons, hippogriffs, flesh-eating, the blast-headed scroots, right?
Yes.
Like he takes care of all of these, discarded things.
He also, like, all people who fostered dogs we've seen online and videos and things, you have to go through a lot of the dogs dying. Yes. Especially if they're older.
Of course.
We see Hagrid bury Aragog. And then in Deathly Hallows, we see him carrying Harry's dead body.
Yes.
So they come full circle in the same way. We see that tragedy of the parent outliving the child.
Yeah.
And we see that pure warmth and love come through Hagrid, regardless of how good his judgment is when it comes to spiders. We see that parallel come full circle by the end of the story.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm remembering now, like, there are so many parallels between Chamber of Secrets and Half-Blood Prince.
Yes.
With the Aragog thing, but like with the Horcruxes, right? Like we bring back the stuff with Tom Riddle's diary, and the Vanishing Cabinet, and like all these things that echo each other really nicely in those two books. So I think this Aragog thing is really interesting. I like it a lot. Also thinking about Hagrid as this really crucial parent figure, like taking the place of both of Harry's parents, not just his father. I feel like Lupin and Sirius are very much like James replacements, whereas Hagrid is like taking on this role as like full parental figure, right?
He plays both
like
roles,
like all the stuff that you said, but at the end of Sorcerer's Stone, he gives Harry the photo album of his parents, and then Chamber of Secrets opens with Harry looking at that photo album. Like it's this nice, like just it carries through.
He's the glue.
Yes, exactly.
But also the first two movies, which are by far the most warm, and I think capture the magic of this world the best, because that's what people remember and go back to. That's why these are comfort rereads for billions of people. It's you picture those little in-between moments. You picture Christmas at Hogwarts.
Right.
The fun, like climactic operatic moments, those are fun too.
Right.
But you want the warmth and the escapism of this world.
Right.
And the fact that these first two movies that so bottle that beautiful magic end with Harry hugging Hagrid.
I was going to say, and so tellingly, this movie ends with a standing ovation for Hagrid.
Yeah.
And like the last line is it's not Hogwarts without you, Hagrid.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about Harry and his triumphs and the things that he accomplishes and the person he becomes, but it's like Hagrid is essential for all of that to happen.
And in my memory, Hagrid recedes a little bit for the next few books, but every time we need him, he comes back.
Yeah.
He's the one with another great echo callback of Hagrid's bike at the beginning of Deathly Hallows, helping Harry escape. He's always there and in these clutch moments, but I don't know if I appreciated that until these latest viewings of the movies.
Yeah. I'm excited to continue to pay more attention to him throughout watching the rest of these movies.
It's also that Robbie Coltrane does such an incredible job.
He's so good.
Under so much hair.
I know. Yeah, and lots of costuming and prosthetic stuff. But
it's an incredibly gentle and subtle performance. Even though it's gruff and sort of loud at times and stomping around, it's incredibly subtle, gentle performance. I don't know.
That's so good.
It's really the one part of these movies that's standing out to me now as we rewatch them. So yeah, that's my little theory on Hagrid's sons.
I love that. I like that a lot. Next week we're going to talk about Buckbeak and how he's another pseudo Harry.
Yeah, there's another weird child.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he adopts all of these creatures and defends them and protects them from people who misunderstand them or assume things about them. Like, that's his whole thing, is like monsters are misunderstood and they're actually amazing creatures and they deserve love.
It's a much more effective version of the Newt Scamander archetype.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we didn't see that whole storyline because they don't seem to be making those last couple movies, but Hagrid, I think, accomplishes a lot of those points in a very beautiful, understated way.
Yeah, yeah.
Him being a zoologist it almost makes it rude and overt, a lot of those points.
I know. I agree. Yeah. No, these movies are unmatched. They're so good.
That was our little Tuesday about Hagrid. And
let us know what you think of Hagrid. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments or in the comments over on Patreon, where you can get a new bonus episode every month for supporting the show and our entire back catalog of 14 bonus episodes from across a year that we put a ton of work into.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting the show. Where you can email us, secondbreakfastpod@gmail.com. We never plug that one anymore, but you can send us thoughts, theories, and feedback. Patreon for bonus episodes, Instagram for updates and just behind the scenes stuff.
Also, if you're kind of new, we did a whole episode about Harry Potter. We did a whole, we called it Growing Up with Harry Potter. We did a full, deep dive, really talking about how it affected us personally a year or so ago. So go check that one out. It was really fun.
If you're on YouTube, we'll throw that one in the episode description below.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Toodaloo.
Talk to you Friday.
Bye.